Podcast starts now. What's up, everyone around the globe? You're listening to StraightioLab from a windowless room in Times Square.
That's right. Welcome to TRL.
Welcome to TRL. I can hear NSYNC bumping their new hit downstairs.
So this is our final day of a full week of StraightioLab content.
Yeah. We've been recording nonstop.
I feel wistful.
I know.
We've recorded 4 episodes. We've done a live show. It was our first ever StraightioLab live show. All queer woman lineup. And instead of straight topics, they brought lesbian topics.
Yes.
And we learned about, I think we can say what the 3 topics were.
Say them.
Okay. Self-cancellation. So this is when you are a lesbian and you start a small business sort of with the intention of being canceled for having bad labor practices.
You get like one complaint and then decide to go on a I'm sorry tour.
That's right. And it's also like starting a business is actually more of a means to an end, the end being getting a conversation going.
Yeah.
So you want like a Reddit thread, you want people saying like, thread, the truth about, black cat coffee. So that was one. Hats was the second topic. So we learned about flat rim hats and about Hey Mama lesbians. And about how different hats, the further back in your head a beanie goes, the less queer you are. That is something that was, I think, posited.
Yeah, that was posited and proven.
And then the final topic, now this was the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
Do you want to say what it was?
It was porn. This was Natalie Rauter-Lightman, and it was porn as a lesbian export. As pizza is to Italians.
So she was, yes, go ahead.
And so, it's not necessarily always made by Italians, just like lesbian porn isn't always made by lesbians, and yet it's how most people interact with lesbian culture.
This was fascinating to me because I am so, liberal arts pilled that I thought the topic was like feminist.
I have to say, your Ivy League education was showing pejorative. It was very, I have to say, it was like rich. It was sort of Kamala coded.
Okay, thank you for the class analysis, first of all. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it, and I'm self-canceling in a lesbian way for my privilege.
Because when I heard porn as our greatest export, I said, I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, and in retrospect, I completely understand what she was saying. She was saying the sort of male gaze lesbian porn, literally the poster of 2 women kissing that guys have in their dorms.
Yeah.
That is like...
I mean, that's like an artful version
of cultural export of lesbianism.
Yeah.
That people from all communities can understand.
Yeah.
What I heard was like, sort of queer, non-binary porn where then all the performers also give a talk at Oberlin. and then the talk is like... And then there's like people asking questions at the talk and they're like holding space.
It was really funny. You were like, oh, porn stars, like people that do talks at colleges and universities. And I was like, I really don't think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I love that. It's a beautiful perspective that you bring.
Yeah, and you know what? That also is a lesbian cultural export. It's just like a less successful one because it hasn't really reached the heights of the sort of more male gazy lesbian porn.
Yeah. It was in the pizza metaphor. You were forgetting sort of about Domino's.
I was thinking more like Roberta's, kind of a hot honey and sage pizza.
Yeah.
Whereas Natalie was saying like pepperoni.
Yeah. I want to say...
And I do want to actually shout out, so our friend Andrea Long Chu was supposed to do the show, ended up not being able to make it, but her topic was going to be hands as a lesbian topic, which I think is so rich.
Well, it's very rich, and I would love to know where she was coming from with that.
But you like get...
Well,
generally?
I get that they have hands.
No, but it's like, hands are so much more of an important part of lesbian sex, I think is where it's coming from.
George, we're in Times Square.
And like it's like hands, I think this is what she was going for, hands as a sex organ.
Oh. Well, we'll have to ask. Because I don't want to make assumptions because I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what she was going for.
Okay, maybe I'm once again thinking too academically.
Maybe she was like, lesbians work with their hands.
Oh, that's also probably true.
Who knows? It could be anything.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make assumptions. I'm here to listen.
We were being so respectful and open-minded last night, but we had one like cheap joke that we did with the U-Haul.
Which, by the way...
Yeah.
I'm ready to be defensive.
Uh-oh. Here she goes.
I'm ready to be defensive. We put the U-Haul joke in the slideshow
because
we were like, it's time to talk about
classic
stereotypes.
But then all three of them were like, Jesus Christ, you guys.
They were like, why would you put this in? And I was like, because I'm curious how you feel about classic stereotypes. Because a gay guy stereotype, it is like, it's both embarrassing and annoying and true.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how do you guys feel about it?
Yeah.
But c'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
I want to say that as our string of records in New York comes to a near close.
That's right.
I feel a little bit, I have that thing where I'm like, did I say everything?
Mm-hmm, I know.
And even though we still have 2 recordings today, I think back and I'm like, you know when a little kid is like really excited to do their dance for the parents and then the parents are like, okay, dance, and they don't move at all?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I did. I feel like I was like, I'm so excited to fucking show them everything I've got. And then as soon as they're like, okay, we're recording, I'm like, so do you guys like blue or green better?
Don't you think, though, that the concept of the big moment is like a straight thing, and actually the more queer sensibility is that it's just all a performance?
Well, that's your class. Your theory of life is a cabaret.
Right. It's like life is a cabaret.
Yeah.
It's not that life is preparation for the big cabaret.
The stage doesn't end when the cameras are off.
The stage does not end.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like if it's like the director yells cut, that doesn't mean you're like, fuck, I didn't do what I was going to do. It's like, I'm going to do it now. I don't give a shit if the cameras are going to catch it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
We have to bring in our guest because we are absolutely edging her as always.
As always. This is truly exciting.
I'm really excited.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. I feel that, we have prestigious guests sometimes.
By the way, all the time.
All the time.
We love having prestigious guests and they love doing the podcast.
Let's start there.
I just want to start there. It's actually like very common.
And not to be sort of Animal Farm coded, but some prestigious guests are more prestigious than others.
That's true. And I would say this one's like in the top tier of being prestigious.
Yeah. And so while all are prestigious, some are more prestigious than others, and this is our most prestigious.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, well, you know her from her debut smash hit novel, Detransition Baby. You know her from her new book, Stag Dance. And you know her as the guest of this episode of StraightioLab. Please welcome Torrey Peters.
Hi.
Hi. What did you think of our intro? Be honest.
I was very interested in your interpretations of lesbian culture. Yeah.
I could see you. We were really like torturing you because we were saying all these things that we want your take on.
I wanted to like jump in on it. Yeah.
Okay, thoughts?
Well, I think you're correct about hands.
Okay.
I do.
You think it was a sex thing?
That's what Andrew
wanted. I think it was a sex thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was a sex thing. I don't think anyone's going to be offended by that. You don't have to self-cancel.
I have to say it was, as I'm currently, we unpack the podcast as we record the podcast. That's part of it. Uh-huh. As I sit in the middle seat, I was finding myself not able to look at you for approval and reactions. So I had the whole time I was really flying blind.
Torrey was being very supportive.
Yeah,
thank God.
Thumbs up,
yeah. Big smile.
Yeah. That's really helpful to know.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what if we're bombing? And I can't check.
No.
I was wondering why you weren't making eye contact with me. Why you
I was
pointedly ignoring me.
I was really focused in on George.
And then what do you think about generally self-cancellate, like the idea that a lesbian small business is started for the sake of being canceled?
I as you were saying that, I was like, oh, actually, that is something that I think about. Like this, I'm wearing this jacket, for instance, and it's, I don't know if the owner of the company is a lesbian. I don't want to assume, but there's something kind of lesbian Kamala about the marketing of this. It's an argent jacket.
What was the marketing of it?
I don't know. Well, actually, Kamala, I think, is one of their spokespeople.
Really?
I think so, like a pink power suit. And I was like, I want exactly that to be like, I want to blend in on my book tour. So I got like, I was like, I asked some fashion people, like, what should I get? And they're like, well, this is the thing in which nobody will have an opinion about your suit jacket.
Blend in being like, you don't want to be marked as like
anything.
Okay.
I want like nobody to notice it.
I'm sorry, but does your t-shirt say T for T?
It does.
And you don't want to be marked as other in any way.
Yeah, that was a mistake. That was an dressing error today. Yeah. No, but I felt like I want everybody to use my press photos. Basically, I have good press photos. And I found if I wore interesting clothing my last tour, it would be like these terrible candids that, for whatever reason, especially Italian photographers, love taking awful photos of me.
There is a conspiracy afoot. Italian photographers want you dead.
I was just chased by like untalented Italian photographers taking terrible candids and then doing SEO optimization on their terrible pictures.
Wow.
And I think it was because they were like, oh, this is a different outfit than the press photos. So we'll do this.
They felt like they were being unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so now I want to wear something that's like super bland. And if people are like, what's a good photo? They go with my press photo that is just available rather than, however bland a bland, terrible candid.
I did notice that in the photo on the jacket of the book, you are wearing a white pantsuit.
I got rid of that one in the second printing. Too unique.
Okay, you are 5 steps ahead of us. Wait, so you thought that, because that to me is very like Hillary Clinton meets like Annette Bening doing Actors on Actors.
Yeah, that was like kind of what I was going for. And there's like such a history of like writers wearing white suits, like Tom Wolfe and well, Steve Martin's not really.
Yeah, no, Tom Wolfe, Steve Martin, the big two. Yeah.
Those are my two lodestars in dressing. But I was like, yeah, I think this is like going to be my suit era. But I've had to like have a couple of like restarts on what I want the suit to do.
Okay. So then what is the new photo?
The new photo is going to be my bland suit. I want to switch it out. I mean, it's a good photo of me, but you don't really even notice the suit. That one is very suit.
That one you notice.
Yeah, it's like
you clock what you're wearing.
You're doing a suit thing in the photo, and I'm sort of secondary to the suit.
You're bringing up something I find really interesting, which is when you're launching sort of a new personal era, you have to make at least 3 missteps first.
Yeah.
Like I've been trying to go cowboy, and I'm not doing it today, but I was like, I leaned in way too hard. At first, I was like, I'm going full cowboy. Like I'm wearing like Wranglers, cowboy boots, tucking the shirt in, wearing the belt. And then it was like confusing.
You had to pull back.
I had to pull back. And you can wear one.
Yeah.
You can't do full cowboy. It's silly.
I feel that way about the white suit. I mean, I'll do that very occasionally. I think it's like a special thing, but I think it's like the first printing is a white suit, and then we pull back a little bit.
We pull back.
Yeah.
You got to see how far you can go. And then take one thing off.
Yeah, but that was like I think they were like, we're doing a reprint, and I was like, I have a new author photo.
Does the idea of a book tour, is that stressful or fun?
It's fun for the first 3 weeks. Okay. And then it's not so much that it's stressful as you're tired of yourself. You know, like you get sort of, people want the greatest hits, but like the greatest hits for you are like 3 jokes and like 2 ideas. And then you're like, and then if you deviate actually from it, it's usually the terrible nights is when you think like, oh, I have a great new idea that I'm going to try out with this audience. And it's like, that was a bad.
Isn't it also like a self-perpetuating thing where like the people that are interviewing you do their research, hear what you said in other interviews, and then they're like, we heard when you were a kid, you had like a favorite doll that you played with. And so then you have to tell the story again and again and again.
Oh, that's so interesting. I also realized, talking about the podcast while we make the podcast, me asking, is it fun or boring to go on book tour was so like little kid reporter.
You're doing like Nickelodeon, like news for kids on Nickelodeon.
So what's your favorite candy? Yeah. Like it was so.
But this is like what you were just saying in the intro, the big moment where you're like, do you like blue or green? It's like you're just doing it. This is part of the process. That's now you're doing it. And I relate to it because when I was like 8 years old, I got a chance to interview Jane Goodall, the famous primatologist, and I panicked and I said, "So you like monkeys?" And it was like exactly this. It was like I had thought about it. Like this is gonna be my moment. This is gonna be it. And that's just what came out, So a book tour is kind of sometimes boring.
I have found that as an interviewer, my childlike wonder can be really charming, but as an interviewer, it can also be quite confusing. I think it's sort of like, what are we doing here?
But I think someone being interviewed ultimately, not to project this onto you, but generally speaking, someone being interviewed just wants to talk about what they want to talk about.
Sure.
And so giving them the most like nothing question is like the best thing you can do because then they can just like monologue.
Yeah, that's the advanced interviewing. It's just
exactly.
super
So what
open.
we've learned so far is don't do your research because you will ask the same
Let's start
questions.
there.
And in fact, don't ask questions because that is boxing the interviewee in.
Yeah, I felt your first ones were really constraining me.
Totally.
Whereas fun or no was like, well, this is my moment to just monologue.
The word "fun" is so funny to ask like an author. So is writing fun?
Okay, here's a final stupid question for you.
I have a second final stupid question.
We're doing such a good job.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question for you is like, I'm sure people are asking a lot of annoying questions.
Ooh,
so my question for you is, what is like the question you wish someone would ask you that no one ever would?
Let me tell you, that question I get like every time.
See, George, I was gonna, not to be a bitch, I was about to say, I bet she gets that question all the time.
Really?
Yeah, and then it's really hard because I'm like, well, that question is actually a very common one, and then also you have to like come up each time with a new question because last time that I got asked this question, which was, a few days ago, I came up with like, this is the thing I wish that somebody would ask me. And then like by the end, you're just like kind of making up like random, like, I wish people would ask me about my shoes more. Like, it's because everything else has been asked because of that specific question.
I have a theory, and maybe this is completely wrong. Do you think it's because people are like uncomfortable with asking about big quotes trans issues that they don't want to say the wrong thing?
Yeah.
And so then they want you to tell them what to say?
Maybe that's it. There's two things that happens, and the other thing that happens is that people are very proud to have not asked about trans issues for an entire interview. So, but like how proud they are that like we've only talked about writing in this interview. Like I don't even care that you're trans. Like you can like feel that so heavily, and like as they're like getting to the end, and it's like and you've also only talked about writing, and we're kind of waiting for you to bring it up, but also we're proud that we never brought it up. Is like that like slowly pressurizes that like standoff, that I'm in. And so I oftentimes will just break and be like, I'm trans.
It's like Chekhov's gender, Chekhov's trans representation. It's like, is it going to be brought up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so what was your stupid question? And then we'll go into smart.
This is the smart part. Then we'll go into the smart section. I loved the book.
Thank
you. I think I didn't expect how horny it would be, to be honest.
Really?
I thought it was so horny.
I would agree, but I felt. Did you read my first book?
Yeah, we did.
That was like not an entire.
No, and honestly, if any other author was on here, I'd be like, no. But I did read.
Yeah. But no, that's interesting because I feel like the first book was hornier. Like she gets like a ribbon tied around her junk. I mean, maybe you were just like, that was sad. I did not like it.
I felt like the stag dance in particular.
Yeah.
Like the big oaf guy, like being like treat me as the woman.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
that's like so hot.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think it was just the horniness that like you related to more than the type of horniness
that I related to more? I was like, literally, I was like, oh, this is why I like to hook up with bi guys, because they're like treat me like the woman.
They're so and it's so like they're so titillated and excited by like, look what I'm doing now. Yeah.
So and then my dumb question was, do you think writing is the horniest medium?
Yeah, rank the
mediums from horniest to least horny.
If it is horny, it's like a masturbatory horny. It's like a very like you're like alone, kind of pleased with yourself, and what you're like. I did it. Ooh, I liked it. Like that's the scene maybe that you're thinking about in the lumberjack thing, where the Babe Bunyan, who's the oafish lumberjack, is hooking up with his boss in like a shanty. I wrote that one that day, and I was like, I don't know if I was like, maybe I was a little turned on, but I also just like so smugly pleased with myself that there was something very masturbatory about my emotions that day. That was like, I left that day of writing as though I had just like taken Adderall and like gone into like a porn wormhole for 6 hours.
Are you ever like, okay, this is too horny, I have to pull back? Like it's not, it's too horny, it's too hot.
No, like usually if it is that, then I am happy, and it's like maybe in like later edits, but like anything that's like too much, I like to sit with the too much for a while.
Yeah.
And have somebody else tell me it made them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I loved it. I felt like, a lot of the horniness I was relating to, and the sort of like being like, why am I doing this? And then being like, but I can't stop.
Yeah, I mean that for me is like the kind of horniness, like the confusing horniness. I think is like a go-to, both something I go to, I guess, emotionally is confused horniness. I'm just very comfortable there, and I also think it's like I like characters who actually like don't totally understand what's happening to them, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like horniness it is something that like happens to you sometimes rather than like
curse.
Something you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a curse. It's terminal.
Yeah.
There are times when I've done, like I'm walking to do something and I'm like, turn around, don't do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I have to, I won't rest until I go do this.
I'm too
like,
horny.
I have to put my life in danger to go do this.
Yeah.
No, it really feels like you're in Train Spotting, but it's instead of heroin, it's horniness.
It's not right.
Yeah. There's also, I think, similarly with how your characters deal with their horniness, I also think the way they deal with their own cruelty is kind of in the same, like they almost can't help it and can't understand where it's coming from, and they're half conscious of it, and they're almost like just conscious enough to feel guilty and self-loathing about it.
Yeah, I think we've entered the smart question portion of the interview.
It's like,
I'll
are
bring
you?
it back to stupid? Don't worry.
Yeah. Was that something like? Was the almost like the relationship between cruelty and horniness something that was in your mind?
Well, I think cruelty is very intimate, right?
Yes.
Like I think that like when you don't know somebody and you do something like awful to them, that's just like sort of brutality. But that like when you know somebody and you like know their like vulnerabilities and their and like the soft parts of them, and then you like kind of can't help yourself, maybe because like you know them so well and you're just so like frustrated or irritated or annoyed that you just like go for those vulnerable areas. Yeah. I mean, it's very intimate, right? To know somebody so in all their soft parts. Mm-hmm. So I think that like, and that's exactly kind of what you want to know if you're horny too. So there is the cruelty and the horniness.
Oh my God, cruelty is finding the emotional G-spot.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to borrow that for when I go on tour. I'm going to the UK. I think they'll love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, you were telling me that. Yeah. You know what? You're going to have a lovely time in London. Go to the West End, see some plays. What a time.
The other thing, this is more of a reflection of my stupidity rather than a question.
Okay. Please.
Our confidence is really coming through as interviewers.
Well, you know that meme?
It's a good start, yeah.
You know that meme that's like me as someone who has only seen Trolls 2 World Tour watching, The Godfather. Wow, this is just like Trolls 2 World Tour.
Totally.
I feel like the only like books that I've read that are about like hard like fiction books about gender are like Ursula K. Le Guin. So the whole time I was like especially like the first story, I was like, wow, this is just like Ursula K. Le Guin.
I mean, I will take it. I mean, as opposed to Trolls 2, you're like, this is just like Trolls 2 World Tour. Like Ursula Le Guin, absolutely. Yeah. I love it.
I felt like it was fun that you were going so big and like sci-fi-y with it. Like,
yeah. So like I wanted to do, the premise for people who haven't read it is that each piece is like in a different genre. And that one, the first one is like a speculative fiction dystopian one about like a gender apocalypse. But I think it was also like, that was the first one that I wrote. And it was because I think it was like 2016 and like Last of Us, the video game had come out. Yeah. It was like The Road and all this other thing. And I was like, what genre is everybody into in 2016? And it was kind of, like grimy post-apocalyptic stuff. Whereas like now I think I would never do like a pandemic.
Right.
Oh, so that was written I'm sure you've talked about this, but so it was written pre-pandemic.
It was pre-pandemic, which like I think is, people are always like, why don't you expand that one into a full novel? And it's like, I don't think you want me to do that. Like I think you've kind of gone through it yourself.
Totally. Although we were saying how now it's been long enough actually, Hari was saying this, right? Someone was saying, like, it's now been long enough that people are craving narratives about 2020, not just the pandemic, but like even just like where the culture was in 2020 and how we were all so unmoored from reality because we were, just like undergoing this like insane experience all together, but also alone.
Yeah.
So I'm almost like, it's like to pick something like that back up now, or even in like another 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, I felt actually like the other day when Trump announced all of his tariffs, like, and I felt the world kind of stopped for like a day. Mm-hmm. I had like a real, like, what does this feel like? What does this feel like? And then I was like, oh, it feels like March 2020, where everyone's like, is the economy crashing? Do I have a job? Like, should I stockpile, like fill up my bathtub or whatever weird shit we were doing in 2020? Yeah. I had like a real, like, I called it like a snow day. Like, I don't know whatever it was last week, it was like a pandemic snow day where I was like, is the world over? And I kind of wish that like, yeah, there had been like more culture about that weird feeling, because I feel like apparently we're going to just keep on having.
Well, that's the thing. I think we've been like microdosing March 2020. It's like every few days you just go through like a less intense version of it, and it's like shorter and more painful rather than this like long drawn out thing. Okay, I'm like so eager to get into the topic. We should do our first segment.
Let's do our first segment.
Okay, Torrey. Sam, do you want to?
Our first segment is called Straight Shooters, and in this segment, we're going to ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to gauge your familiarity with and complicity in straight culture. It's basically this thing or this other thing, and the only rule is you can't ask any follow-up questions or we'll scream at you.
Can I ask a pre-question?
I think that might be a follow-up question.
Oh, okay.
And while I wanted to say yes to, I have to be honest and real.
Yeah.
I also was tempted to say yes because I was like, well, she's an author.
Yeah. I was like, well, this isn't right.
I'm putting on as much gravitas as I can to get away with, to break the rules of your podcast.
Yeah. Should I start? Okay. We'll start simple. Being the goat or sinking a boat?
Sinking a boat.
Okay. A dream come true or a steaming pot of stew?
A steaming pot of stew.
Design within reach or a headline that says impeach?
Ooh. I like design within reach.
A task that's Sisyphusian or a rash that's syphilisian?
Probably a task that's Sisyphusian.
Really
yeah, wow.
Good job. Okay, being queer and in STEM or drinking beer but being femme?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say drinking beer and being femme.
Okay. Okay, Lou, Tuve Lou, or Mama Roo?
What was the middle one?
Tuve Lou.
I don't know what that is.
That's Tovolo's actual pronouncing of the name.
You answered a follow-up.
Oh my God!
Got you.
Sorry.
Got you.
We're having a constitutional crisis. This is our
pandemic. This is 2020 all over again.
People are hitting the streets.
Well, obviously not Tuve Lou.
Let's see. Which one do I want to do? The Taming of the Shrew or Defaming Lucy Liu?
Defaming Lucy Liu.
Face card never declines, or oh my God, that's Ray Fiennes.
I like Ray Fiennes. I'm excited to see Ray Fiennes. Oh my God, that's Ray Fiennes.
I'm actually excited to see Ray Fiennes as well. Yeah. Whenever I see him, I'm like, wow, that's Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
And also, you know what Ray Fiennes is to me? You know how people, when you know how to say Lueve right, you get to have like a step up over like 60% of people.
Yeah.
Like
that's you and Rafe?
Literally. Like I see that name and I go, I know how to say that.
Yeah.
Because it's not spelled like that.
It's spelled Ralph, but it's Rafe?
Yeah. It's spelled Ralph Fiennes. And you say Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes. Yeah, you're in the know.
Yeah.
So, Torrey, we rank each guest's performance on a scale of 0 to 1,000 doves and or 0 to 1,000 blades of grass. We haven't decided.
Based on
two Lady Gaga songs.
Two Lady Gaga songs.
I have to say, here's what I'm struggling with. I'm like, do we reward the boldness of asking a follow-up question because she beat us at her own game? Or do we punish because she did the one thing that is
I believe a wise man once said that cruelty is the G-spot. Oh
my God, you did that to us. You found our one weakness and used it against us.
I made it pleasurable.
Yeah. So literally.
I think we should punish.
Oh. Okay, we should punish. Okay, so I would say without the follow-up question, it would have been 930 doves.
Yeah, that's accurate.
But with the deduction of
600?
600, it's going to go ahead and be 335 doves. I'm so sorry, Torrey. That's not a passing score.
But what is that in Blades of Grass?
Okay, so there's inflation when it comes to Blades of Grass.
Yeah. Blades of Grass.
So in terms of
maybe
Blades
I can
of
buy
Grass,
something with the Blades of Grass I get. Yeah.
it's more closer to like 650.
Yeah, it's more closer to 650. Yeah.
That's a good,
So you
good
can
exchange
accept,
rate.
you can
really
accept your prize in Blades of Grass.
Like in other countries, I'll do all right. Yeah.
When you're in the UK, you can pay with Blades of Grass.
I love
to
Blades of
euro
Grass.
is
Yeah, you're actually somehow making money. Yeah, suddenly you have more than 1,000.
I'm so glad I did this podcast before I went over.
Oh my God.
High on the horse.
Should we get into the straight topic?
I would love to hear. So behind the scenes, George knows the topic. I do not.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to hear what straight topic is and what's straight about it.
So it's a working theory, but my straight topic is prolonged divorce. And my theory is that you don't know if you're in a gay marriage or a straight marriage until you get divorced. And it's how prolonged your divorce is that determines how gay or straight your marriage is.
And the more prolonged, the straighter.
The straighter it is. The more prolonged your marriage, the you can. And it doesn't really matter your gender, how you identify. It's like when you don't know, and then you get divorced, and if it goes on like 2 years, you were in a straight marriage the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the queer thing is being like, I take my possessions, I don't care. Like,
no, I don't think it's even like that. Like, I think it's like you just can't let go. And I think it's like you can't let go because you're just like have ended up very hetero in your thing where like one person knows how to cook, one person knows where like the drain on the sink is, and you can't leave each other because you're like, how am I going to drain the sink without this person?
Yeah.
How am I going to turn on the stove or do all these things? And so you draw it out forever. And because I'm 43 now, and I'm like, I had one round of, I had divorced myself, but like a round of divorces with at like age 30, and now, and I think it was mostly like queer-ish people who were getting divorced at 30, where they were like usually discovering they were queer or something, and they're like, oh, I gotta go. And now it's like straight people in my life in their 40s, and they're just drawing it out for years. And I'm just like, and everything that they do is so straight. Just like, you can just stop this.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Don't you think it has to do with like the more you buy into the institution, for lack of a better word, the more violent it is to break it apart? Because it's like, yes, the more you believe in marriage, the more difficult it is to step away from it. Like you have it's all been leading to that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what drives me crazy about this is like just get away from each other. Like just, you don't need this. Like you'll be happier, and they just can't see it.
Yeah.
They can't see that like it needs to end. You're torturing each other. And there's something like where I'm just like this, what is happening is like straightness is torturing you all rather than, even each other are torturing each other. And I've noticed it actually, like, again, like it doesn't even have to be straight people. Like there's some gay marriage couples that I know where I'm just like, the way you're doing this is like, you've believed in it too much. You've like entered into straightness, and I didn't know it the whole time you were together, but now that you're divorcing, I see that you were in a straight marriage all along.
Totally. I think more broadly, since gay people have been able to get married, there is a spectrum of, on the one side, gay people almost like wanting to emulate straight people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the other side, being like excited to do something new with this new right. You know what I mean? And so it's like there's a spectrum of straight to gay marriage within gay marriage.
I agree with that.
Wow.
I agree with that. And I even think like you were saying that like on a previous show that you had classified, what was it?
Divorce is lesbian, marriage is straight, and like staying together without getting divorced is gay male.
Right.
Because they're like,
But like they don't hook up anymore.
Yeah.
it like staying in an unhappy marriage basically is gay male because they're all open, so they don't feel the need to escape because they just like can escape every night basically.
Yeah.
But just like come home and resent their husband. And of course the classic thing, my favorite thing, when it's a gay couple
really
and they're like in a fight, another person enters the room and one of the husbands goes, "Oh, look, there's your boyfriend."
That is good. But see, to me, that is like that even, okay, so if you just take that, like gay couple not having sex together forever, that is either like the most kind of like, oh, you've like solved marriage, like you are like the most enlightened thing, or it's actually like you have like reverted to such straightness that
It's like 1950s housewife.
yeah, or even like the Catholic Church in like the 1500s, like divorce does not exist for you. You just have to live with each other and like dream one day of like, how could we possibly separate? It's unthinkable. God does not allow it.
Yes,
You
totally.
know? And it's like, that's the straightest.
Yeah.
The straightest you could possibly be is two gay men living together
No,
peaceably.
literally.
It is interesting. It is always like, obviously there's no right answer, but I'm sort of like, is that better? Like there's so many guys where I'm like, could you just break up? Like, let's call it. Like it would be so much better if you just broke up.
It is interesting how that is almost the default for long-term gay guy relationships.
Yeah.
Where then everyone under their breath is like, yeah, they're always like this. It's like, oh, you know how it is. Like,
and like even the bickering that you just said, like, oh, there's your boyfriend or whatever. It's like that you just stage that with like slightly different actors, and you're like, oh, this is the most conservative, like British period piece that we're watching, you know?
yeah, you know, I'm finding this really interesting because, okay, so basically, is finality gay or straight? I think is like a larger question. And go ahead.
Well, I think finality is more straight, to be honest. And I think that's why they make it last longer, because they know when it's over, it's actually over. Whereas when gay people are breaking up, they are like, we are divorced, it's over, but we still get lunch every 3 months.
Right. So finality is straight in that there's a gravity to it that straight people are afraid of. They're like, I will do anything but finality.
Yes.
Yeah. So in their fight against finality, they are like hurting themselves.
Yeah. When they could sort of, the life is a cabaret thing. You know, gay people know when the cameras are off the stage, you're still on stage. And so you know when the marriage is over, you're still going to have a relationship with the person. It's just a different relationship. Totally. Whereas straight people are like, when the cameras are off, I'm off stage.
Got it.
But I also think that the willingness to be final would be gay. Like a willingness to lean in and be like, I'm breaking ties. I'm changing everything.
Well, to make a statement.
Who I am. I'm exactly. Like everything's new about me now. You like that is.
Well, it's like I'm wearing the Kamala blade.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They're literally debuting like a I'm divorced era, and then they're like, actually, I'm pulling back. I'm not fully out.
Well, there's also something I think like gay people, because they kind of have this reverence for like a diva, a straight woman, like a divorcee. I almost think like to be divorced is so fabulous.
Yeah.
Whereas like for a sort of like a straight woman who married her high school sweetheart, it's such a sign of failure.
It is a real sign of failure. I mean, to be divorced in like the Sex and the City universe is fabulous.
Well, that is of course fabulous.
But I do think in like normal world, it can be quite difficult.
What do you think of the recent, and you cannot answer this if you don't want to comment on your peers, but there's been sort of a recent rise in like divorce literature.
Yeah.
Mostly from women, I would say.
Yeah.
In my experience. Like, what do you think that is about?
Well, it was like, I mean, that was like the Detransition Baby. My first book was dedicated to divorced cis women.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So it was like, I felt like I was very much a part of this like divorce thing. And like, you know, kind of what I was saying is like divorce is a transition in the same way that like, you know, because you live your life a certain way and then you make a decision and then you have to like go forward and not get bitter. And also you can't just like go get married again in the same way with the same illusions. Otherwise you're going to end up divorced again. And so I was like, oh, like we can all understand each other. But I feel that this is actually, and so I was like, oh, we can build bridges, we can understand each other. And like, actually like you can like divorce straight cis women, you can sort of be trans in a little bit of your way. But this is actually sort of the 2020s culture that like, I feel like maybe Hari was talking about, that you were talking about. Like, I feel like that actually now to me feels like a little bit naive. Like, this sort of like, oh, we can all just kind of like understand and take responsibility for our actions and like not lie to each other. Like, I think that that's like not true for like having watched people that now get divorced. I'm like, oh no, you're just going to continue to lie to each other. And to some degree, like for me, like watching like trans shit over like the last 4 years is like, oh no, this is like you can understand trans people and actually it's not going to make anything any better. So I'm like a little bit like down on divorce literature right now. Although I think there's like lots of good books that do it. I'm sort of like, it's like I actually don't want to reread the whole like Ferrante series, which like in 2020s, if you've been like, do you want to reread Ferrante? I'd be like, any day, all the time, I'll do it. I'm like, actually want like more things burned down now than I wanted.
So you're sort of you've turned on divorce as an optimistic act. Kind of.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know what replaces it, but it's sort of like, oh, you can just kind of like go through this ritual, take stock of like what you want and who you are, and that's going to be like enough to like move forward. I like don't at this moment, like I sort of don't believe it. Like I feel like, oh, you something more than that needs to happen, like that. And in that metaphor of like divorce and transition, like I also think that like it goes across for transition, where like there was a while where it's like, oh, you just transition and then you can live your life as you want. It's like, that's not enough anymore.
Well, that was the plot of Amelia Perez.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually not the plot of Amelia Perez, if you remember the ending, but
well, I think what she's saying is the plot, where it's like you think you can change.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, the critique is the plot of Amelia Perez.
Yeah. And then I haven't seen I've only watched like clips of it, but I understand that somebody falls down a mountain at the end.
We can't
She's
get it.
She's going to go ahead and fall down the mountain and explode.
Yeah, she explodes.
It's kind of the best way for any movie to end, and I actually think more movies should end that way.
It's so complicated. I've spent so much time thinking about Amelia Perez.
My problem, I started watching it on a plane, and I was just like, this isn't the place for this movie and for me. And I got... when I started this tour, I got so many, again, not to be like so many questions are the same, but I got a lot of like, what do you think of Amelia Perez?
Yeah,
things. And I was like halfway through watching on a plane, kind of not understanding what was going on. And I was like, and then I'm going to go and like opine about this movie, totally not understanding the edited version of it. So I turned it off and I haven't returned to it.
I have to say, it's interesting that there's this idea of trans backlash against Amelia Perez, because every trans person I know has opted out of seeing it. And they've been very much like, I'm not at a place where I can watch that right now. Like I actually think the backlash is almost like manufactured by cis people who are guilty about watching it or something. And then like imagine an imaginary like mob of trans people that are mad at Amelia Perez.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Yeah, the backlash is like, I'm like, okay. Like, it does feel like, what are we doing here?
It almost reminds me of my favorite topic, which is the women that got sent to space, and how we're at a place where, like, something like that, which in 2016 and 2017 would be, like, the big news of the day, no one cares enough either to be empowered by it or to be angry about it.
Yeah.
It's just a numbness.
It's just, like, a numbness. Like, can't you imagine, like, a time in, like, 2015 where, like, every website would have like a screed about like the pitfalls of girl bossery and like blah blah. And it's like no one gives a shit anymore.
No, I mean it's just like, but it's sort of like also like we've seen this grift so many times too. Yeah. It's like we've seen it with like a deep water submarine. We've seen it like it's like
that one hit though. That kind of also ended in an Amelia Perez way.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, but that's if it. I guess if they had fallen down a mountain and exploded, that spaceship full of Katy Perry and Gayle King and stuff, people would have talked about it.
No, I'm sorry, but if they were committed to sending a message, they should have exploded.
If they were committed to recreating Amelia Perez, then they would have exploded. But it's almost like Amelia Perez is like the trans representation version of Women in Space for girl bosses, where it's like we've now gone through the conversation, and not just trans representation, any kind of like representation politics. We've now gone through the debate of like, is it good, is it bad, is it good, is it bad so many times that something like Amelia Perez comes along and I'm almost just like unable to even form an opinion about it.
Yeah.
It's like remixing existing arguments that have been had so many times.
Yeah.
Including even like the trans backlash, right?
Yes,
like
exactly.
The like imagined mob of like somehow trans people who all have the same opinion.
Yeah.
It's like you have not met trans people if you think there's a mob of them that are somehow in lockstep or like can even like not just be like cats like batting at each other if you put them together, you know? Like that is that's imagined. It's a totally imagined situation that they can chant the same thing at the same time.
This honestly goes back to the lesbian-owned business that's doomed to fail.
Yeah.
It's like they're not agreeing in those meetings.
I mean, also in the Masker, the last story of the book, that was very where it was like, this is everyone's like, it's a meetup, but everyone's on such a different page.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like when I talk about that, it's like we're all kind of like standing in the same public square, but like we all came from like all four cardinal directions. And if you'd be like, how'd you get here? It'd be like, I came over that hill and I saw a cow. And it's like, I have no idea what journey you took. I have no idea the landmarks on your way. Like everything you're saying is alien and strange to me. And the only thing that we have is that we're kind of like standing in like a general vicinity. We're not at the same table.
Yeah.
It's like I see you like, oh, you're eating ice cream and I'm having a coffee, you know?
Yeah, it is interesting. I do feel like there's a push to try to like make it seem like almost like trans people are the like gay guys, where it's like the culture of gay guy is Lady Gaga. And it's like it's not one-to-one.
Yeah, but I also think that like that ends up being like the useful thing is that like let's pretend that all trans people like are out here in a mob telling us what we can or can't say, and it's like it's not.
And they were all appointed by Biden. By the way.
Exactly.
It was Biden appointed the trans mob.
The head of which was the suitcase stealer, my favorite character.
Oh yeah, do you remember the suitcase stealer?
Yeah, that was a good Biden appointee.
That was a really good Biden appointee. That was like Biden kind of ate with that one.
Yeah, that was that. Sorry, I was just laughing, picturing that person and picturing also like the protests, like the way that person protested. Like, no, I did steal the suitcase, but
like wearing outfits all over town. It's so genius.
Yeah.
I also now there's a thing. I feel very conspiratorial around internet backlash in general because it feels like websites are basically like, we need to find 4 tweets and then we can say there's a backlash. And it's like, it's not a backlash. You found 4 tweets.
But also I have become so conspiratorial. I mean, I've become so conspiratorial about literally everything being paid bots, which is, I remember when people were like, whatever, like the kind of stereotypical center lib, 50-year-old post-Trump was like, the Russian bots, like it's Cambridge Analytica. And I was like, oh God, you guys need to like get it together. Now I have become that, but for like a thread that's like, Azealia Banks' worst moments. I'm like, someone paid for that. Like,
the thing is,
and the Blake Lively, thing, the only conclusion I drew from that is like, okay, so it's all fake. There's no one actually mad at Blake Lively or there's no one that actually in their mind is like, wow, she actually was really rude to that interviewer. It's literally just like someone behind the scenes at bleep agency.
But that's a very appealing worldview in some ways.
I know.
Like it actually makes you sound very chill. Like even though it makes you sound like you're like wearing a tin hat, it's like also like you're like the chillest tin hat wearer. You're like, it's just the bots.
Sure,
like,
totally.
Chill out. It's no problem. Everybody loves Blake Lively.
It's actually, it is kind of beautiful. You're even like, no one's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I'm also like the most... Well, I'm like, no one's mad, but then I'm also like, we're living in like the Last of Us post-apocalyptic world because no one knows what's real or what's fake.
Yeah. But soon it'll all be over.
Oh, that's true. We can agree on that.
This is the kind of cheerful...
This is very stagnant. Soon it'll all be over.
Soon it'll all be over. Who cares? C'est la vie. we're a C'est La Vie based podcast nowadays.
I heard you
Sam
say
loves
it
saying
earlier,
C'est La
yeah.
Vie.
I find it to be a really powerful mantra. I find there's a silliness to it. There's a sort of detachment to it.
Yeah.
And I think both of those are really important right now.
Torrey, I want to give you a challenge, which is, for each of these stories you experimented with a different genre. I would love to see you experiment with the genre of middle-brow humor essays of the type that you find at airports. And I want you to write a book that's called someone's on my seat.
Not me writing a book for you to read on the airplane.
And other concerns.
I feel like that's actually like the dream for a writer. Is it like, you get like a, I feel like actually a lot of like really great writers get to a point in their life where they're like offered a cruise, and then you
Writers
write
do
about
cruises?
Oh yeah, like the famous like David Foster Wallace, like a supposedly fun thing you've never done. Whatever it is.
I'll never do again.
I'll never do again. Yeah. It was like he basically just like, I get to go on like a Carnival cruise or whatever, and I'll like try and elevate it. And then he was like riffing on like Frank Conroy going on a Carnival cruise on some other cruise where you get, and
Gary Steingart just did it.
Gary Steingart loves to go on like a paid travel thing. Like
I know, but I'm also like, I stan. Like
I know,
don't care.
absolutely. Like I love to hear him like in Dubai being like, I'm eating chicken hearts, and you're like, or whatever it is that he's saying. It's like, and you got paid $10,000 to do this, and you don't care. Like the way, I love the way that Gary Steingart doesn't care. That it was like, I just wrote an entire novel about Rolexes. Yeah. That's just, I have a nice watch. I like my watch. And now that's my novel. Like I kind of appreciate his just what I've gotten recently for free is the thing that interests me. And I understand that,
When you said writers go on cruises, I was thinking about like how comedians go on cruises. Like I was
they're do like Q&A.
I was like, they're performing on
it's
cruises.
sort of similar though. Like Lauren Euler went on the Goop cruise.
Past guest on this podcast.
Yeah. Wow. Lauren Euler did it and did the same, very, very funny, but did the same thing where it's like, now that I'm on a cruise as a writer, I'm going to reference every other writer who was on a cruise as a sort of like way of like, this is a literary tradition, and also I got a free cruise.
I think it's great. I know there people do roll their eyes at that genre, but I'm like, it's fun for something to be like a thing you revisit. I'm trying to think of like what an equivalent thing is for. It's like, even honestly, Chelsea Peretti in her special, when she's like, every male comedian fucks the stool, does an act where they fuck the stool. And so Chelsea,
how do you make it yours?
Yeah, how do you make it yours? And so Chelsea's thing is like, I want to sort of riff on that by doing. For me, I'm passively taking it from the stool. So she's just like, is like right by the stool. And she's just like sitting there. And then she's like, and then things got crazy. And she turns around and her butt is towards the stool. And she's just sitting there. But it's like, yeah, that's actually what culture is.
Yeah.
No, it's how you interpret it and reference it.
Yeah, if someone offered me a cruise at this point, it's like got such a tradition that I wouldn't just be like, I would of course be like, I'm a little bit selling out and I'm taking the cruise. But I would also be like sort of like, I'm in that camp. Like I'm with Lauren Euler.
You and Gary Steingart.
Gary Steingart camp. Like that's I'm quite honored to be offered the chance to sell out for a cruise. And I would do it.
Yeah, no, you take it in a heartbeat.
Well, cruise directors, here's your chance. Magazines, etc.
Mm-hmm. Although, cruises are actually really scary because did you read that New York Mag piece about cruises, about the people that got left behind and then could not make their way back? Do you know what I'm talking about? So there are these people on a cruise, and they were dropped off at one of the stops, and then were like running to get back on the cruise ship, but the cruise ship left without them. And then it describes this: they weren't. Basically, cruise ships have no liability whatsoever. Like no laws apply to them. Yeah, people, like a shocking number of people die on cruises every year, and no one is held accountable. These people were trying to get back on the cruise, and the cruise was just like, we don't care. Like we're just gonna like do our thing. They had medical issues that they didn't have their medicine for because the medicine was still on the cruise. It's like this insane thing that you're sort of like basically just putting your life in in the cruise ship company's hands.
Is it that it's like the law of the sea applies? It's like maritime laws?
Yes, but it's a combination of that and also some version of basically cruise company lobbying such that they're very loosely regulated.
I mean, I guess I sort of hear about that. There's sort of like weird ghost ships of like cruise ships where everybody has norovirus at the same time. And
the most scary thing is that cruise people, like people that, because the thing with cruise people is that most people on a cruise are serial cruise ship goers.
Right.
It's like a cult.
Yeah.
And so when you raise these points to them, it's like you're talking to a Scientologist. Like they don't accept, like you'll be like,
they're like bots.
Because Bridget Reed, the writer who wrote the story, like interviewed a lot of cruise ship people, and they like would not accept that cruise ship companies make mistakes. Like they were just, and they would be mad at the people who got left, and they were like, well, they told us like you have to be back by 10:55. Meanwhile, someone's dying.
That is very religious, like sort of, yeah.
Well, this is maybe a point to, we need to sort of lower the bar for the type of like the writer that can go on a cruise ship. It shouldn't be like sort of you've made a really successful career and now you get to do cruise ship. They need to get beginning journalists out there.
It should be an unpaid internship.
It should be an unpaid internship because we need more journalists on cruise ships to uncover what is going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Enough sort of language about what it means to be on a cruise and more about like the crimes that are being committed.
Actually, I have a question for you, Torrey. We were talking about this at some point. What would the contemporary version of specifically David Foster Wallace in that era going on a cruise ship be? Like, yes, the writer going on a cruise is a tradition and everyone does it, but at this point it's so referencing past cruise ships that it's barely about like, it's not really about like what it says about society that we go on cruise ships. Like the contemporary thing would be something like, what is so like Lynchian and postmodern about society that someone would comment on? Like, is it going to like an influencer conference? Is it going to like, what is so depraved about our society that now you would want like a highbrow writer to perform analysis on?
Okay. Well, I have two thoughts on that.
Yeah.
One is that I feel like like one of the things that's happened is that this genre has been like sort of exhausted. Like we're going to find the Lynchian thing. So like even, and it ends up becoming like depraved in the practice of it.
Yes.
Like I feel like the number of writers who are like, I'm going to go hang out with like right-wing influencers and try and like make them interesting to us. Like it makes me like sick.
It's like a morally bankrupt project.
It's like this idea of like, oh, we're just going to find out what the we're going to find out what the fascists think, at their little fascist, like, oh, they wear this hat or they wear this shoe. Ooh, interesting. It's like, we're no longer like at the state fair with David Foster Wallace. We're laundering something when we do this. So I'm kind of like in the typical magazine version of this, I'm like, this thing it doesn't work anymore now. And so like, cause I too am always like, what is a great magazine assignment that I could like pitch for myself where I get to go do something kind of enjoyable and eat nice food. And I absolutely want that, that I could also be saying something while I'm doing it. And like most of the things I could be saying are like kind of awful at this point. But I will say that I think that probably the frontiers on this are like, I would like to see a serious writer take on Discord gooning.
Yeah. No, this is so good. I'm so glad you said this.
Yeah, that would like, I feel like it's not a thing in life, but like that there's like whole like cultures that like I need somebody that are like not like, oh, it's like a great place you go to, but like I didn't know about Discord gooning until like last year. And then I was like fascinated with Discord gooning. And
can you actually explain what it is?
So like you have like whatever your fetish is, right? It's like there's Discords, right? Where your thing is you sign under Discord and there's like thousands of other people on these Discords, and that like then you like spend all day gooning, like but like it's like so it's like I knew about this basic thing from like chat when I was like a kid, or like, oh, like, you know, ASL, like age, sex. And then you kind of like, oh, I'm in it with you. I'm like doing a thing, but it's like so overwhelmingly like sensory attack now, where it's like, you can be in voice channels. You can be like, you're gooning with other people in voice channels. You're sending them every 2 seconds, like some porn that's like their triggers. Like you're like breaking each other's brains in the Discord goon, you know, as you're just masturbating for like, you know, on Adderall for hours and hours and hours. So you have like in marathon endurance for it. And like, and to me, I'm just like, this explains so much. Like I kind of like, when I see people, I'm like, why are they doing this thing? It's like, well, they're probably coming off of like 22 hours of gooning. Like I also would be making
I
these
never know what
decisions.
people are going through.
You never know what people are going through. I'm so glad you brought this up. I learned about Discord like jerk off groups recently.
Yeah.
And I haven't, luckily I'm technically untalented, so I haven't found my way in.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I've got to check that out.
There is a level of tech to do it that is like I wanted to see it, and I'm like, you have to really be invested. But I feel like once you're invested, like it seems that the payoffs are hot. That it's like once you're in, you're like, I'm set. Like I don't need the real world anymore. It's great.
That people are getting weirder in a way that I am finding myself curious about. Like I follow a guy on porn Twitter that like puts his full ID up and is just like, just humiliate me. And I'm like, wow, he puts his phone number and he's like, just text me and tell me I'm pitiful. Yeah. And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah. And I just don't think that like real life can achieve that level of like dopamine sensory humiliation. Like if it's like, I was weird, you know, like on the street, and like some people just were like, pff, and like, you know, a few people snickered, and you're like, I was mildly humiliated. But when you have like 20,000 people on the internet doing that, it's like the sensory overload that is possible for this kind of thing now is so fascinating. Like,
well, and then the sensory overload like becomes the point. Like I've seen so many things of like, porn is my life. Like I will like quit your family and watch porn. And like, it's like crazy where it's like the like religion of porn becomes like the new thing. Yeah.
And I need a respectable writer who's not part of this to like I want like Barbara Kingsolver in on the, just like doing, you know, this is the culture of gooning. I've uncovered it.
That's so genius. You know, we started this horny and we're ending it horny. I really appreciate that.
I want them to like uncover the big goon.
I mean, the big goon.
The big goon has not been exposed.
No, the big goon has not been exposed. And you know what's actually sick is like so many people are hypocrites and are so sex positive in their writing and in their attitudes and whatever, and they would absolutely cower at the sight of the big goon. They would not have the bravery to look it in the eye.
So it's like strap on their pith helmet and go in.
Damn. Yeah, Barbara Kingsolver, if you're listening.
This is your
moment.
It was great that you got the Pulitzer, but can you face the big goon? Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was amazing. Should we do our final?
Any final thoughts on prolonged divorce as a straight man?
No, just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
Just do it. Like I think it should be a 4-month process.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if we're going to do an arbitrary thing, I think from proposing your divorce to filing it, 4 months is reasonable.
I think
that's really reasonable.
Right. And you can still it's a gay marriage if you can do it in 4 months. Anything after that, you're in a straight marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
You heard it here
Straightest
first.
marriage, Brangelina.
Yeah.
They're still going.
Oh.
I think
still divorcing?
I think they're still divorcing. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's been years.
I had no idea.
And they are actually, if you think about it, sort of the archetypal straight American couple.
Yeah.
Of this generation.
I think like you don't have to like have everything settled after 4 months. Like if you're like them and you own like a rosé wine thing, it's like
who gets the rosé?
That's difficult to manage.
Well, that's different paperwork.
You know,
and that's the lawyers are figuring that out.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to like settle that we are gonna split up the rosé.
Yes.
After 4 months. Yeah.
They finalized December 2024.
We're getting word that they finalized December 2024.
We have once again spread misinformation. And
December 2024. Huh.
Still pretty recent.
You know, the rosé is not bad.
Oh.
I tried it recently. Anyway, let's do our final segment.
Okay, Tori, our final segment is called Shoutouts. And in this segment, we pay homage to the grand straight tradition of the radio shoutout, shouting out to anything that we are enjoying, people, places, things, ideas. Yeah. Imagine it's 2001, you're at TRL, shouting out to your squad back home.
And we have to think,
that you like.
We have to think about it on the spot, which is why I have my thinking face on.
I have one.
Okay.
What's up, freaks, losers, and perverts around the globe? I want to give a shout out to listening to different music in different locations and having it hit different. This is sort of a basic concept, but sometimes, as I've been living in Los Angeles, some music I'm like seeing it make sense more, and some music I've been like, I know this is good and I know that I like this, but it's not hitting as hard as I want. Today I was walking through New York City and I was taking the subway and I said, it's time to put on OK Lou, and guess what? It was hitting harder than it's hit ever before in my whole life. I already liked it, but this time I was like, damn, the subway's like I'm underwater. Like I was in heaven. I felt cool. I felt like, this used to be my life. And, I one day hope to be cool again, but that is neither here nor there. But it is on the subway listening to OK Lou, New York City. I love you, XOXO, Sam. Woo!
Wait, I need to tell you my version of this. So, my dad's favorite musical artist when I was growing up was Sade. Now, Sade famously is like sexy music. And I think I will finally be liberated when I can recontextualize Sade as something sexy rather than something that reminds me of my father.
Yeah, I mean, I find myself like,
and I can't. Like it's
you'll get there.
Yeah.
You just need new context.
I need
smoky
bomb. I need honestly Discord gooning. Yeah. But for Sade.
Pop the headphones in.
Yeah.
I'm finding myself listening to Haim constantly in LA because I'm like, well, this is the only thing that makes sense.
That does make sense in LA.
Yeah.
It's like sort of sunny.
Yeah. And today I was like, should I put on Haim? And I was like, why would I do New York, that? Yeah. It's cold. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay. What's up, fashionistas? I want to give a shout out to the brand Merrell, the shoe brand Merrell. It is so difficult right now to shop for shoes because of the sort of constant TikTok semi-ironic reappropriation of every floating signifier that constantly exists. It is impossible to know whether something you are wearing signifies that you are basic, that you are young, that you are old, that you're old trying to be young, that you are trying to be hype beastie. And there is something about Merrell brand shoes that almost transcends that. I think it has been appropriated and reappropriated so many times that they can basically be whatever you want them to be, and you sort of can get away with wearing them and they just like accommodate you the rest of your style. And so this is the Merrell pledge. I am buying a pair of Merrells in the next calendar month. And that's going to be my new look. It's going to be my Kamala blazer is I'm going to wear Merrells. And I just want to thank them for everything they've contributed to both straight, queer, gay, all cultures. Because they have something for everyone.
Was wearing them last night?
Lily was wearing them last night. And so shout out to Merrell. I don't know if they are an ethical company, but I will do my research after this chat.
Self-cancel again. Self-cancel.
Yeah, that's mine.
Beautiful.
Tori, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna shout out to nautical decorations.
Ooh.
Yes.
I was in I went with a bunch of gay people to a restaurant that was. I was staring at it the whole time. I was like, what is this restaurant? Why does it look this way? Like, I couldn't name it because I was with gay people, so it didn't occur to me that I could be in a nautical restaurant. Like, they were throwing off what the restaurant was. And then finally, I went to the bathroom by myself, and I was in the bathroom, and there was like rope trim on like everything was navy blue and white, you know. And I was like, oh, maybe it's chic. I don't know. And then I don't know what chic is oftentimes anyway.
It's
so
nautical,
I was like, is this maybe? It's kind of Frenchy, you know. Like, so maybe that's
true. Could
be. So yeah, but I was in the bathroom, and like it was like there was rope trim picture of a sailboat, and all of a sudden I was like, probably in the bathroom, I was like, it's a yacht club, you know, like alone. But I realized like that's what this theme was. And The whole lunch was just it was changed. I was like, the feel of this lunch that I thought was like in a like a cool New York restaurant. No, I've just been dining at the yacht club, and everything was different. And it was because I became aware of the nautical motif.
Wow, that is so powerful.
Do you think
you.
nautical?
I love nautical.
Will come back. Like
Yes, 100%. I
like
think
in the way that people fetishize cowboy, workwear, all that stuff. Like, will we get to a sailor moment?
nautical is incoming. I also think we all have this thing where our parents' bathrooms had like a seashore theme.
Yeah.
And it's like hack. But now we're like almost at a place where we're like, well, I'm my parents' age. Like maybe I want to find my way into the sea.
Yeah,
Like,
is it time for some shells around the mirror? Yeah.
I think there's something where you're like, well, I'll do it, but it'll be like semi-ironic and I'll find a way to play with it.
No, but the thing is, it immediately becomes like that just becomes like your thing. Like I like in Florida, when I'm in Florida, I am like excited to see like manatee themed.
Totally,
bathrooms,
me too.
You know?
When I go to-
like not in a sort of ironic
And also like
way.
crocodile and alligator stuff.
Yeah. I'm like,
In Maine, when I see those damn buoys everywhere, I'm like, perfect.
you're like, yeah, I'm in Maine.
I'm like, in fact, I'm bringing one home.
Yeah.
All I want is a damn Maine buoy.
Torrey, this has been an absolute delight.
It's been a pleasure for me.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing it.
Thank you so much for doing it. Please purchase the book Stag Dance on bookshop.org and not Amazon. That's right, I said it.
Wow.
That's true. That's
Making a
true.
political statement.
Yeah.
Making a political statement, or Amazon, you know.
Or whatever.
I have no moral backbone. And if you're in the UK, you know,
Yeah.
look, where are you going to
I'm
be?
gonna be. It's gonna be like 8 stops in the UK.
Oh, wow.
And then including West Kirby.
Okay.
I don't know what that is probably the most obscure, but apparently it's a nice place outside
Okay.
of Liverpool. Doing an event in Brighton with Sean Fay, who probably your listeners know of Sean Fay. And then I'm doing also Sydney Literary Festival, Auckland Literary Festival, and Melbourne Literary Festival. So I'm doing.
We actually do have a lot of
Australia.
Australian listeners.
That's true.
Yeah.
Australians love alt-gay comedy. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
kidding.
actually kind of do.
Oh,
It's
well,
confusing.
This is perfect then, because I've been sort of remiss in promoting those things.
Oh,
So
yeah. No, if you're an
Yeah.
Australian listener, please look that up.
I'll be there.
Amazing.
Wow. Well,
Bye.
StraightioLab is a production by Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network and iHeart Podcasts.
Created and hosted by George Civeris and Sam Taggart.
Executive produced by Will Ferrell, Han Sani, and Olivia Aguilar.
Co-produced by Bei Wang.
Edited and engineered by Adam Avalos.
Artwork by Michael Fales and Matt Grubb.
Theme music by Ben Kling.